What's up, everybody? We're here live at Trace3 Evolve from the PressBox. I'm joined by Michael Toole, who's one of the directors for our Azure Practice, and I'm going to be kind of the host today, Jon Schaumloeffel. I run our workplace security and identity practice. So, Mike, wanted to ask you a few questions about all the cool stuff you're doing in the Azure side. From your seat helping with the Microsoft partnership, what are some of the most significant kind of headlines or resets that you're seeing in the industry so far?
That's a great question. It's been a great event so far. It was really fun to see Microsoft present on our stage and talk about like where they're going. Yeah. Everybody's talking about like different types of resets. Cloud used to be about infrastructure and applications and how to get that stuff deployed, which is all still very valid. But the reset we're seeing is, okay, take a step back and how do you actually integrate AI and how do you make them more intelligent and bring those capabilities to your organization, not just moving an application to the cloud.
Yeah, that's awesome. And from my domain in the workplace security side, we're seeing this huge shift away from perimeter-based security over to identity-based security. Non-human identities, which is basically like service accounts on steroids, is becoming a huge topic, right? How do we secure those? How do we identify those? So that's been a huge kind of related topic as well for us. So when clients come to us, as they often do to both your practice and my practice, what are some of the biggest challenges they're coming to you with these days?
Well, I mean, cloud is big, right? There's so many different things that you can do. There's always concerns about cost and governance. There's things that we help our customers do to build their cloud in a way that they can govern it properly. But a lot of that stuff kind of moves to the background when you start focusing on the newer applications that they're talking about bringing to the cloud. It's still important, but they really want to understand like, how do I get started in this area? App resiliency is a big focus area, but AI and how do I transform these applications and our processes becomes the biggest conversation at the table.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those are definitely some of the key areas we're seeing as well. You're part of the digital consulting organization. What are some of the ways you guys are adapting and changing the way that you look at engagements to meet some of those needs that you're talking about?
Yeah, so we like to meet the customers where they are. Many of our customers have already started on this journey and are looking for strategy and guidance, and a lot of them are just getting started and feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the different options and capabilities. I mean, if you look at the sheer number of language models that are out there now, it's pretty overwhelming, right?
It is,
we like to engage with our customers and go through a sort of strategy and envisioning session to help figure out what are their use cases, where is it going to be most beneficial, and focus on like where to get the quick wins, right? And how to start showing value early so they're not stuck in paralysis and not bringing those capabilities forward.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. Yeah, on our side, we're seeing a lot of more investment back into data security, since that really is kind of the beginning of securing AI in your organization, right? So definitely overlapping topics for both of us as we're looking at our practices. So looking forward to the future, what are some of the kind of the trends with Azure and Microsoft particularly on their roadmap that has you the most excited or interested?
So there's so much innovation happening, it's really hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
I think hybrid cloud is definitely here to stay, and I see Microsoft making pretty significant investments to continue that with things like Azure Local and being able to run AI like in the data center. We're working with other partners as well around those capabilities like on premises. But the security tooling and capabilities are really changing at a very rapid pace, keeping up with the compute needs around AI and how to detect what it's doing and what's happening with agentic development and stuff like that. The products and stuff that are being built right now to support that around security and the non-human identities, like you mentioned, is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I think AI as a whole is a pretty easy conversation around Gen AI, but
sure.
Where it becomes very different is when you talk about how to bring that to enterprise applications and customer experiences and things of that nature.
Yeah. How's the team? I know you've got some of the most experienced engineers and architects on your team in the Microsoft domains. How are a lot of the guys staying up to date on new trainings and materials and education?
Drink it from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Right? So you have, all the different partners and vendors out there publishing what they're doing and where they're going. There's lots of training material available, but it feels like the moment you get through training and start to use something, it's changing. So
Sure.
the only way really staying up to date is having our hands on it and working with it.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. I know my team loves to lab things up all the time, right? So we're always working to figure out how we can test something out for a customer scenario or use case, right? So awesome. Microsoft's obviously a strategic partner of ours, and also a big Evolve sponsor this year. What do you think is unique about Microsoft's approach to innovation and digital transformation?
Now, Microsoft's doing an amazing job at looking at all the different touch points and like where AI can be useful, right? So they have all kinds of capabilities to bring AI to your laptop. So whether it's integrated with Copilot in Windows or using M365 Copilot, but also running it in your data center on Azure Local, and they have their cloud capabilities. So I think they're really looking at it sort of end to end, so that customers have all the building blocks to bring that to their processes, right? So it can be, frontline workers, it could be your manufacturing processes. They have all the building blocks to bring that to life.
Awesome. Amazing. We've had a ton of amazing speakers that Evolve this year, right? So what are some things you want to leave, our customers, partners with that are some tangible outcomes they can kind of think about as we relate to digital transformation?
Yeah, the speakers have been fantastic, very inspirational, and really the message is very clear. If you haven't already started on AI, you're already behind, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get on the horse and go for it, right? And starting small still has a lot of value. So look for your quick wins and get started now. Don't get stuck in trying to make everything perfect because it changes, right?
Yeah.
And by nature, a lot of these AI capabilities do things differently when you send it the same information, right? So not everything's going to be perfect. But definitely make sure that you're taking the steps to get started and look for those quick wins. But really where the magic happens is when you start to look at big transformational changes, right? So how can I look at our processes, whether it's customer service processes and things like that, and reimagine it with AI, right? One of the speakers had an analogy talking about, how electricity was brought to manufacturing, in the early 1900s, and showed some examples of, some manufacturing companies basically turning a light on. So
Sure.
hanging lights in the factory, which was a game changer, right? And allowing people to work longer. But then they showed some examples about, real transformational change. So Henry Ford was one of the examples they showed, and he rethought the entire manufacturing process, right?
Yeah.
And the question being, like, which kind of organization are you going to be? Are you going to be the kind of organization that is just putting the light on and starting to use Gen AI, or are you going to be the type of organization that rethinks your processes and reimagines it to bring that cutting edge to your company and your products?
Sure. Amazing. Thank you, Michael, for joining us, signing off from the Trace3 PressBox, and thank you to everybody attending. It's been an awesome conference so far.